It's amazing how 7 days really passed that fast, and also we are here again for another episode of the Homeowners Show, where we bring you everything regarding building, construction, and of course helping you also to acquire your own building, which is one of the fundamental needs of every human being, getting a roof over your head. And this particular space, we all know, has been fraught with a lot of issues that need some sorting out, especially in this part of the world, and that is why we come your way and try to help, so to speak, to give you answers, or give answers, or forge answers to the many questions and needs that you may have. Well, this is the Homeowner Show. My name is Michael Katahena, and as usual, I come your way again for the next 1 hour. We're going to be looking at a certain aspect of this industry. Today, we're going to doing a bit of law, a bit of talk of the law this afternoon. So you get your pens and your papers ready. We're going to be asking you to send in your comments, contributions, questions as usual, and then we would have our guests answer you as much as they can within the limited time that we have. Thanks for joining us. We're going for our very first break. When we come back, we go into the details.
As we get older, we want to start achieving our goals, whether it is to pay for home improvements, fund a passionate side gig, expand your business, fund retirement, travel, or to help a family member onto the property ladder. Equity release is a way of releasing part of the value of your home without ever having to move out to help you accomplish those dreams. So how does equity release work? Equity release is available to all homeowners. The money is released from your home in the form of cash that you can do whatever you like with. How much you can release depends mainly on your age and the value of your property. You can release equity in your existing home today by mortgaging a portion of your home, which is the most popular form of equity release, where you take out a loan against your home and continue living there. Equity release is a big decision, but finding the right bank could open doors to the things you've always dreamed of, whatever they may be. If you are considering releasing equity from your home, give First National Bank a call. In your initial consultation, you'll have the opportunity to ask any question you may have, and your advisor will help you find the best solution fit for you. First National Bank has helped many Ghanaians get on the property ladder. If you missed out on Yoho 2021, then you must take advantage of Build Up 2022. Give us a call on 0242 435 050 and 0800 770 522, or head over to any of our branches across the country and talk to one of our friendly home loans consultants. First National Bank, Bank of the Changeables. First National Bank. How can we help you?
Welcome back from the break. You are watching the Homeowners Show right here on Metro TV, and this program is brought to you by kind courtesy of the First National Bank Ghana and ably supported by CBC Properties. Now, getting your building in place, I'm sure if you want to have your building done, the most basic thing or the first step for you to do is to have your own land. And we know that land acquisition in this country, like I intimated much earlier, is fraught with a lot of issues and difficulties, hurdles that one must surmount to be able to really go ahead and put up the property that you want. Now, the law governing land acquisition in Ghana today, as it stands, is what we're going to be looking at. Here on the Homeowners Show, it is our desire to walk you through the processes of getting your own land in one piece. You don't want any problems, as it were, and you just want things to be as simple as possible. I mean, buying land in Ghana shouldn't be a complicated issue. I mean, but like any other area, it has its rules and regulations, and as such, you would want to do the right thing, go through the right steps, and deal with the right professionals. And we've been talking about insurance brokers, we've been talking about the help of lawyers, and even when it comes to the building aspect, you also have to deal with the right professionals, architects, and the like, to be able to have a property that you can be proud of without any problems. Well, this afternoon, like I said, we're going to be talking about the law governing land acquisition in Ghana, and to help us do that, in the studio with us this afternoon is Mr. Divine Doche Tete Esquire, and he's a private legal practitioner. He's going to help us through the law as it stands now, and we are so happy to have him here this afternoon. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Michael.
And
good afternoon.
it's a great pleasure to have you here.
It's a great pleasure.
We would, as much as possible, go through the very salient aspects of the law as it stands. We probably might not be able to exhaust everything. As you know, it's a very voluminous document. So we'll try our best and do that. But hopefully, along the way, we should have to join us on Zoom, and I think we have him standing by, Mr. Emmanuel Sakite Matekole, and he is the managing partner of M&O Law Consult. So he would also be helping us, and I believe that he's online at the moment. Hello, sir. I'm sure you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so I'm sure that he'll be joining in the conversation very soon as we go into the details. But last year, the First National Bank helped many Ghanaians to become homeowners through the year of home ownership. That's the YOHO initiative. This year, they are making it easier for you to build that property to your taste or complete the housing project you started. Through the Build Up 2022 initiative, everyone who applies for a home construction loan gets up to 1.5% discount on your interest rate. Don't miss out on Build Up 2022. Speak to First National Bank's experienced team of home loan consultants today to discover more help. Call us on 0242-435-050 or 0800-770-522 to get started. First National Bank, how can we help you? And are you a homeowner who requires financial assistance to meet other pressing needs? Well, First National Bank can help you unlock the value in your house by releasing equity in your property to finance your business, fund your child's education abroad, or any other need. Speak to First National Bank's experienced team of home loan consultants today to discover more help. You can call us on 0242-435-050 or 0800-770-522 to get started. First National Bank, how can we help you? So straight into the matter at hand for today, and I will throw the first question to you, lawyer. Now, I would want you to share maybe, like I said, it's a very broad subject, so probably you want to share with us the salient or the main ingredients of the new Land Act enacted in 2020, I believe. So you outline that and just give us a brief insight into, or what really stick out as the main areas in this act that many of us prospective property owners should understand or should know.
Okay, all right. So good afternoon to you, Michael, once again, and then good afternoon to our cherished viewers. So the Land Act has a number of innovations. One that stands out is that there are more robust, more expansive, as well as more stringent penalty regimes. One of the things that sticks out is that, we've had this age-long problem of land guards. So the Land Act, the new Land Act, that is Act 1036, actually encapsulates that, and then it actually provides for punishment for people who engage in that kind of activity. So for instance, if you have no interest in land whatsoever, yet you go ahead to exercise authority over the land, you are committing an offense. If you have no interest in the land whatsoever, yet you go ahead to use violence or brutal force to try and get the people with rights out of the property for your own use, or you try to extort money from a rightful owner or someone with rights in the property, you are committing an offense. And the law says that you can go to jail for as much as 15 years.
Great.
So it's very stringent. Aside that, the Act also imposes what we lawyers term a fiduciary responsibility on our chiefs.
Okay, which is
Yes.
it's a big word.
Yes, so I'll explain.
Yeah.
So our chiefs, the head of clans, heads of families, now have a responsibility towards the people that they hold the land in trust for. So if you don't exercise that responsibility fairly, and you also are not accountable, you can actually go to jail.
Oh.
That is one of the innovations. Because we've realized that over the years, some people, either family heads or chiefs, they come into this office and then they go up about dissipating land wantonly,
Okay.
capriciously and whimsically, without any care whatsoever. So this act tries to, impose systems in place that will punish, these people if they are not accountable. So apart from criminal liability, they also have a civil responsibility towards the people that they hold the land in trust for. Aside that, the new Land Act also makes it mandatory for you. So, Michael, if you're a married man and you are going to purchase a land, you need the consent of your wife in order to purchase the land.
Really?
Yes.
Why would I need the consent of my wife to purchase
So
a piece of land?
this was encapsulated in the Act as a result of the development that has happened in respect of spousal property.
Okay.
So you know that when you marry and you acquire properties after you marry, that property becomes what we call a spousal property or a joint property. So when you are dissipating that property or alienating that property, your wife needs to consent to it. That is also encapsulated in the Act. Then again, if you are also a worker of the Lands Commission, again, this is reflective of the problems that we've had in the past. Officers of the Lands Commission, through all forms of fraudulent, means, try to either take money from people so that they can change documents or introduce new rights and so on into the documentation and so on and so forth. Now, if you are an officer of the Land Commission and you do this, the law says that you are also committing a crime, for which reason you can go to jail.
Wow.
Yes. So another interesting thing is that, so you know that the land system, tenure system in Ghana is such that we have customary rights as well. So the law says that if you are the customary, what's the name? You are the customary owner of a land within the area. So either a chief, either a family head or whatever, you are supposed to establish what you call a customary land secretariat, so that you record transactions that take place. If person A comes to buy property, that has to be recorded. So this is also one innovation to prevent people, again, from the wanton dissipation of property.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a second, but I believe that I have Mr. Emmanuel Matekole on the line. And he's on, yes, so you're joining us on Zoom. Thanks so much for joining us in the conversation this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So we are looking at the main areas or ingredients of this act, or this new Land Act of 2020. And your learned colleague here in the studio has brought out a few. He's talked about, I'm sure that you've been listening to us, the issue of land guardism and the chiefs also defaulting on the aspect of holding the land in trust for people, and also talked about the consent of your spouse when you are acquiring a piece of land, and a few others, the negligence or the involvement of Land Commission officers when it comes to bribery and things like that, and others. Are there any other areas of this act that you'd also want us to know? You want to explain further the bits or aspects that he's given us already this afternoon?
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. So the Land Act starts by explaining the types of interests we have in land. So these are the only interests that you can register. So this is the allodial title. Then we have the customary law freehold interest, common law freehold interest, the usufructory interest, leasehold interest, customary interest, and then it has added the registration of a condominium for the first time as part of the interest that can be registered. Initially, apartments could be registered under the regulations, but currently, under the new law, the regulations are supposed to be passed for the registration of condominiums as well, which is quite interesting. So, with regards to the allodial interest, it shows you how to you acquire an allodial interest and how to alienate one. The same with customary freehold, customary law freehold, common law freehold, and all that. I mean, everything is important, but what I thought was quite interesting and laudable was the fact that when it comes to usufructory interest, and let me just try to break it down a bit. So when it comes to allodial title, this is the person who owns land indefinitely. It can be a stool-skinned clan family. Then we have the customary law freehold, which is somebody who takes an assignment or purchase or a gift from an allodial owner, and it is acquired by way of the customary law. Then there's the common law freehold, also similar, but it's acquired using the common law. And then we also have the usufructory interest. This is quite interesting. This one is an indigene of a community who appropriates land, community land, by perhaps farming on it. And by virtue of using this community land or land belonging to the community, he becomes a usufructory owner of the land. And this particular usufructory interest has, just take note of this, has given, the law has given usufructory owners certain rights. So there's the indigene who is a usufructory owner. The indigene who is a usufructory owner is entitled to own the land if he's able to appropriate a portion of the land for himself. Now, the citizen who is not an indigene becomes a usufructory owner if you've lived on the land for 50 years or more. Then in these two categories, they cannot alienate to an outsider with the consent of the stool-skin clan or family. So I thought this was quite interesting. And for the first time, renewal has been implied in a lease. So prior, there are implied covenants in every conveyance. So every conveyance, whether you like it or not, there's an implied covenant that you have good title and you're passing it on to your the grantee or the transfer. For the first time, you don't have to express a renewal clause must not be expressly stated in an agreement. It is implied. So with regards to the indigene, the law has provided that when your lease expires, you are entitled to a renewal, automatic renewal. If the land is residential land, commercial land, industrial land, the renewal is automatic, and it will be for the same term as the original lease. Now, if it comes to a citizen, the renewal is automatic when it is residential, but when it is industrial, commercial, civic, cultural, it is not automatic. So it means that as a citizen of Ghana, if you want commercial, industrial property, you have to expressly state you have to expressly require or ensure that a renewal clause is stated in the lease agreement. And also for foreigners, there is no automatic renewal. It has to be expressly stated in the agreement. I mean, this is a lot of information, so let me just pause if you have any questions. But there are a lot of interesting things in the law. It's in 3 parts.
Okay.
Part 1, part 2, part 3. Each part essentially changes. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, yes, I'm saying that the law has 3 parts, and it's divided into 281 sections. But each part has essentially deepened our jurisprudence, because you see that the law has followed some of the very good decisions in our land law. For instance, there's a case where I mentioned customary tenancy as a registrable interest in land, but prior, the customary tenancy is what we call ebusa and ebunu, where
Emmanuel, I think I'm having a bit of interruption, some glitches over there. So we are not hearing you very well, even though I can see you. So we'll try to fix that, and I'll come back to you on that matter or any other thing as we follow up in the conversation. But I hope that you can also hear us as we continue with this conversation. I don't know whether you can pick up really from where he was trying to explain the matter and probably educate us a bit more as we try to reestablish proper contact.
All right, very well. So I think that for him, he has been very, very technical in respect of the interest in land. So generally, in respect of our laws, we have allodial title, we have the usufruct, we have leasehold, and the leasehold we have the common law freehold as well as the customary freehold. So he was saying that he was listing the interests that are registrable. So for when it comes to land, we have interest and rights. So this interest, you can go ahead and register it. Allodial title is the highest, and usually you have chiefs, you even have the state, and some individual who have that interest. I mean, prehistorically, these are lands that were obtained either by conquest or sometimes by prior settlements. So it dates back to so many years where you have chiefs or you have sections of the republic that go and conquer a particular place, and then they have the allodial title to that place. Then you also have people who go and settle there first. So when they settle, they have the allodial title, which is the highest form of interest. Then we also have the freehold. Again, when it comes to freehold, foreigners are not allowed to have freehold interest in land in our republic.
Okay.
Either a foreign company or a foreign individual. And the Land Act per Section 10 defines a foreign company as a company where you have more than 40% of the shareholders being foreigners. That is a foreign company. You cannot have a freehold. Freehold, which is forever. You are owning the land forever. Apart from the allodial is the next important. Then the next one is the leasehold. Leasehold is like a lease, where you have the land for a number of years. So you have a leasehold of, let's say, 99 years, 50 years, whatever number of years. And that foreigners are allowed, but they cannot go beyond 50 years. So if someone comes to you and the person is not a Ghanaian, the person has an indenture that says that he has an interest in land which is more than 15 years, excuse me, that's a useless piece of document. Because this, is even in the Constitution, per Article 266. So this Section 10 of the Land Act just reflects what the Constitution has already said, and then also goes further to define what a foreign company is. So when buying land, that is why it's important that you have experts guiding you. When buying land, you should be able to look at all these things and understand whether or not the person selling the land to you is a Ghanaian or not a Ghanaian. Yes. So, and then again, apart from that, we also have the customary freehold. Customary freehold, usually you have the chiefs that, and also it dates, some of these interests were even orally given to people. There are no documentations to this effect. That's why one of the important things in the new Land Act is that there must be a customary land secretariat for all families, all clans, and then all chiefs that own land. You're supposed to do this recording. You are supposed to record if person X comes to buy this portion, record it within the secretariat, so that years to come, all these things will be on record. Again, the Land Act you have these provisions in the Land Act to address the problems we've had in the past. Because a lot of the transfers were done orally. So sometimes you go to court and you require traditional evidence to be able to prove title in the land. But if the customary land secretariat of the various clans and chiefs own land record these things, there will not be a problem. So that is why it's mandatory for them to do that now in the new Land Act.
You know, given this breakdown, it's very interesting. And one of the questions I've always had in my mind for a very long time, I was asking one insurance broker recently that question, and he told me aside that this thing is never going to possible. The question I asked is, as you were referring to, alluding to the alluvial, sorry, I was going into geography there, but the alluvial title. I mean, if let's say an area, a vast piece or tract of land was acquired by conquest, for example. What are the sort of documents in the first place that prove that we are the original owners of this land? And secondly, it's always been bugging me. Can it ever be possible where we can change the system of land acquisition in this country, where lands are not sold by clans, tribes, chiefs, and individuals? Because we've realized that a lot of the problems we have as a result of this kind of sales.
Oh, thank you. So the kind of land tenure system we have is as a result of our history. And so over the years, you have people who have gone to conquer a particular area and they have an interest in that property. It's unconscionable for you to wake up one day and say they are no longer the owners of the property. They are the owners of the property. What you are suggesting or alluding to is we have a system where the state owns every property.
Exactly.
So, but then the law is also clear in terms of compulsory acquisition. If the state wants to acquire properties from individuals, you have to pay compensation. So what you are saying is that the state has to go around and acquire every single property and pay. That is almost impracticable. So because of our peculiar history, we will still have chiefs, we will still have clans, and then we will still have families that own land. What is important is that during alienation, you have to ensure that you use the right procedures or you consult the right professional so that the right thing is done. All this murky situation is because the right professionals are not used during alienation. You get the concept. So that is one of the biggest challenges we have in this country. I mean, elsewhere, it will be almost impossible to want to acquire property in the UK, for instance, and not use experts. But over here, you have people just go and see one person somewhere who claims, oh, I am Michael Katahini, I own all these plots of land, and gets people to back his story. And before you know it, money has exchanged hands. That in itself is what has led us to where we are today. That is the bigger challenge. Okay. But if you do the right things, I think that will not be where we are.
Well, I believe that we have our second guest back online, and I believe I can see you, and you can hear me loud and clear, Manuel.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. And so, yes, so your learned colleague took up the portion, took up from where you explained up to the point, and he's
yes,
talked a bit about that. Now, what I want to ask you next is, how much of the law should a potential owner of a land know? I mean, honestly, personally, until recently, I never thought it was important to involve an expert like a lawyer in the acquisition of a piece of land. I have my money, I just want to go and buy a piece of land and get my building done. So I never knew it was that important to involve a law expert. So how much of it should I know? Because if I understand it to a certain extent, then I would know that I appreciate the need for the involvement of a law expert. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Yes, I've had some speaking engagements, and I keep making the same statement that, look, if you try to acquire land in Ghana and you don't use a professional, chances are 99% of the time you'll be wrong. You see, the law is not only what is in the statutes. It's not the black and white thing that you are reading. It's also in case law. The cases have explained what the law means. They've developed the law over time. So if you rely on a broker or somebody who claims to be knowledgeable in the law because they can read it, then I'm sorry. In most often than not, the people say that lawyers are expensive, and for that reason, they prefer to use other people. But to be honest with you, the law even provides that a conveyance cannot be drafted by any other person than a lawyer. And even that lawyer must be standing. If you're a lawyer who has been suspended, you cannot draft a conveyance. And if the lawyer does not endorse his name and address on that conveyance, it's a criminal offense. So the rules are so technical. The thing is, law in itself is technical. So it's difficult for you we cannot in one conversation let you understand or appreciate what you have to do. What I would advise is that if you don't want to make any mistakes, or if you want to limit your risk or exposure, then just engage a professional who understands real estate law.
Okay, so I mean, that's the truth then. I don't really have to understand the law to really engage the services of a lawyer. I mean, because I don't want to step into the murky business of land acquisition, I should just hand it over to the lawyer. So then so do the lawyers then work hand in hand with the brokers, the insurance brokers, for example?
So this is what I do is that, I advise my clients that before you buy land, you have to do some searches. One, you should do a search at the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. This is the authority responsible for zoning. Every area has been zoned for a particular purpose. You cannot go and put a dwelling house in a commercial area. That particular grant is void. Two, I advise that you do a high court search. Do some searches at the high courts. Three, do a search at the office of the administrator of stool lands. If the land is skin land, stool land, clan land, family land. Then you do a search at the customary land secretariat, which is the new one, office that has been established under the New Land Act. And under the law, the Lands Commission is supposed to have a list of all the customary land secretariats in all the districts. Then finally, the most important of all, or it's the most important to me, because the law even says before you buy land, go and do a search at the Lands Commission. You go and do a search at the Lands Commission, confirm if the person is the owner of the land. Before you even go ahead and do all these other searches, you should go and do a search at the Lands Commission. So before you even do these searches, I advise my clients to get a surveyor, their own independent surveyor, to go onto the land with the vendor, so the vendor to show them the subject matter, the land that they intend to sell to them. And then they will do the whatever they have to do, the measurements, pick the coordinates, and produce a site plan. They'll generate a site plan, and then we use that site plan for the search.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Just hold on for me. I'll be coming back to you in a second, but I just want to engage Divine over here. I mean, you earlier on made an allusion to you made reference to the aspects that had to do with the consent of the spouse. Yeah, and what I wanted to ask you along the way was, I mean, because you prescribed there is some penalty for especially the chiefs, land guardism, and then the chiefs who have to hold the land in trust of their people, and if they default on the requirements of the law, what happens to them? In this particular case, what happens if the particular spouse in question does not do it with the knowledge, or buy the piece of property without the knowledge of the other partner?
Okay, so in that particular case, the Act doesn't impose a criminal liability, but there are civil implications. So if you, for instance, go and purchase a land from, let's say, Michael Katahini. Michael Katahini's wife does not consent to this purchase. That purchase, or that transaction itself, is voidable at law. So one day, if it comes to your wife's knowledge, your wife can take it on. And even the new buyer can lose the land. So that is why it's important that you, the buyer, as part of your due diligence, if the person is married, you ensure that the person's wife has consented. So that when you come to a lawyer, like he was saying, the first thing that a lawyer will do is to do what we call the identity confirmation, as well as the credibility verification of the seller. So we want to confirm you are Michael Katahini, you have a plot in Oyarifa that you want to sell. First, I need to confirm that indeed you are Michael Katahini. So this Michael Katahini, you produce documentation to that effect, either your ID cards and so on. I want to confirm whether or not you are a Ghanaian. If you are a corporate entity, I want to confirm who the shareholders are, because earlier on I said that If you have more than 40% of the shareholders being non-Ghanaians, there are implications. So even before you go to inspect the documentation, you do verification of the identity of the seller, as well as the credibility confirmation of the seller. So once you do that, then you can then move on to the document itself. So then you look at the document. What kind of interest is at play here? Is it the allodial interest? Is it the usufruct? Is it a freehold? Even if it's freehold, is it customary? Is it a common law freehold? And all that. And the truth is that it's only trained professionals that can look at a document and then come out with, what exactly you are holding in your hand. So you have a lot of people who have documents in their hand or have an indenture. Sometimes, excuse me to say, they're just useless pieces of information. The document sometimes means nothing. That is why you need to actually have an expert look at the document to see whether, one, the document is genuine, two, the person you are dealing with has capacity to even have that document. And then three, whether or not the leasehold, if it's a leasehold, for instance, someone can bring you a document that says that it's an indenture of a leasehold, but you realize that it's only 1 year left, or even 2 years left. Then you come in, the person gives you an assignment of 1 year, and you think you have a document. You have nothing. Because after 1 year, you'd have to refer it, and so on and so forth. So these are technicalities that you need experts to actually look at and then ascertain before you even proceed to the searches. So identity confirmation, you go on to look at the document, then you the searches that he mentioned. One other search that I also want to add is search at the collateral registry. So per the Borrowers and Lenders Act, if, for instance, First National goes to give a loan to Michael Katahini, and Michael Katahini uses his house as collateral, First National will register this at the collateral registry to show that indeed this property has been registered at the collateral registry and that there's a collateral, you have used it as a collateral for a loan. So as a lawyer, I'll conduct a search there to ensure that the property you are buying is free of any encumbrance. Then if you do all these searches, so he mentioned the court as well, you have to do a search at the court. Most people don't do that. They just go to the Lands Commission. And even the Lands Commission, what they do is that they do window search, which I don't recommend. So window search is where you call a friend of yours at the Lands Commission and say, oh, I have this land. The person has sent me the site plan. Can you confirm whether it's in the name of person X? Then the person sends a message and says, oh, it's really in the name of person X. Mm-hmm. Who are you going to hold responsible for this if the information is wrong?
So you need to do this in the court as well?
No. The Lands Commission, you need to write officially to them. That's why it's called an official search.
Okay.
You need to write officially to the Lands Commission for attaching the site plan so that they tell you what the history of the land is. So now we have a consolidated search system. So the PVLMD, the land registry, as well as the survey and mapping will all come with one search so that you know the history of the land and you know exactly who owns the land at a particular point in time. If you don't do this and you just call someone to give you information, you have done nothing.
So if monies have already exchanged hands, I mean, there's nothing that can be done, right? All these things you're talking about wouldn't really matter. You've lost your money, isn't it?
You've lost your money. That's why, with all that I have said, we've not even got to the stage where you should exchange money yet.
Wow.
So you have to go through certain steps before you even exchange money. We are not there yet.
This is troubling.
Yeah.
Well, I'll come back to you for us to continue the conversation, but really some alarming bits and pieces of information here, some red flags really popping up. And I hope that viewers, you're making your notes and you're going to do the needful. Well, you're watching the Homeowners Show, and it's proudly brought to you by the First National Bank Ghana and ably supported by CBC Properties. And we'll be talking about the law governing the acquisition of land today in the country as the law stands. We're going for our next break. We'll be right back.
As we get older, we want to start achieving our goals, whether it is to pay for home improvements, fund a passionate side gig, expand your business, fund retirement, travel, or to help a family member onto the property ladder. equity release is a way of releasing part of the value of your home without ever having to move out to help you accomplish those dreams. So how does equity release work? Equity release is available to all homeowners. The money is released from your home in the form of cash that you can do whatever you like with. How much you can release depends mainly on your age and the value of your property. You can release equity in your existing home today by mortgaging a portion of your home, which is the most popular form of equity release, where you take out a loan against your home and continue living there. Equity release is a big decision, but finding the right bank could open doors to the things you've always dreamed of, whatever they may be. If you are considering releasing equity from your home, give First National Bank a call. In your initial consultation, you'll have the opportunity to ask any question you may have, and your advisor will help you find the best solution fit for you. First National Bank has helped many Ghanaians get on the property ladder. If you missed out on Yoho 2021, then you must take advantage of Build Up 2022. Give us a call on 0242 435 050 and 0800 770 522, or head over to any of our branches across the country and talk to one of our friendly home loans consultants. First National Bank, Bank of the Changeables. First National Bank. How can we help you?
Welcome back from the break, and you're watching the Homeowners Show. This afternoon, we've been talking about the law governing land acquisition in Ghana as the Act of 2020 puts it, and our guests who have been helping us this afternoon have been Divine Doshi Tete Esquire. He is a private legal practitioner, and Emmanuel Sakite Matekole, who has been helping us also on Zoom, managing partner of MNO Law Limited. So we have a few more minutes before we wrap up our conversation here. But CBC Properties says, why do you have to buy a piece of land now? Well, as Anthony Trowell put it, and I quote, because land provides the highest returns, the greatest values, the least risk, and of course, it is the only thing that cannot fly away. Now is the best time to own a land in Oyarifa, Pram, East Legon Hills, Adenta, Manfro, Shire Hills, Mensa, and so on. Call CBC Properties to schedule for a free site visit on 0303 935 313 or 0262 898 686 on their website www.cbcghanalimited.com. Follow CBC Properties on social media at CBC Ghana Limited on Facebook and Twitter, at CBC Ghana on IG, and at CBC Properties on YouTube. Now, Major Enterprise is the pioneer in innovative building and construction materials with over 20 years of experience in Ghana. We supply notable brands like ERA, George Fisher Hakan Plastics, Peace-Sen, Ferrat Plastic, EMS Force, Interplast, Bosch Power Tools, Leo, Palms, and many more. Major is also the sole distributor of cast products in Ghana. Call Major Enterprise for all your hardware supplies on 0207 672 965 or 0540 573 421. On social media, find them at Major Enterprise. Locate Major at Spintex, Ecobank, Adogono Road, opposite the Shell station. Major Enterprise. If it's not quality, it's not Major. Now, if you want to wear anything like I am wearing here, then you should contact Sub-Saharan Fashion Brand. Great shirts are worn by great men with integrity. That's the philosophy behind Sub-Saharan Fashion Brand. At Sub-Saharan Fashion, our choice of fabric is inspired by our culture and heritage. Call or WhatsApp Same on 0264 017 512 for your orders, and on social media find them at Sub-Saharan Fashion. So we continue with our conversation this afternoon, and hopefully we'll be rejoining Emmanuel at the other end on Zoom. But let me come to you, Divine. I mean, we've talked a lot about the law. We've not exhausted everything. I mean, it's just a very bit of it. But how can you really convince someone who has been swindled several times over and over again to go ahead with the purchase of the land, of a piece of land? I mean, how would you be able to convince the person that, you know what, with the intervention of experts like lawyers and the insurance brokers and all that, you are assured, you are covered, you are not going to throw money away? How can you convince somebody like that who is in a position like that? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people, me included, who are falling into this trouble.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that invariably, once you have the resources, at a point in time, you would want to own landed property. And even if you've been swindled once or twice, especially if you've not done it right, you should try again, but this time around, you have to do it right. You don't have to underestimate the essence of licensed surveyors, legal practitioners, and some other land experts. Once you go through all the processes and you do proper due diligence, if one day, if in the likely event that one day, even it turns out that your grantors were not clothed with authority to sell a land to you, but you've done your due diligence, Lands Commission has confirmed, everything else has confirmed, the courts will treat you as what we call an innocent purchaser for value without notice to the rights of others. So with this, although the person that has sold the land wasn't clothed, but then because your due diligence and all these things are recorded, because you've done proper due diligence, the courts will come in to save you at equity because you were innocent in the process of acquiring the land.
Okay.
That is why it is important that you go through the right processes in order to acquire land.
All right. Well, let me just announce to you that our phone lines have been opened and you can call in and you can also send in your questions via WhatsApp. We have a few minutes to go and our experts will do their very best to answer your questions that you bring through. So due diligence, very, very important. I mean, it's making some of us quick in our boots because we didn't do the needful, we didn't do what was right before letting go of monies. One thing, I don't know whether this is a digression, but another thing I really want to ask you about is the issue of ground rent, the payment of ground rent. Now, is it possible for one to have acquired a piece of land, done whatever the searches and all those things should be, and given out money without knowing that there's a clause or there's a place for the payment of ground rent on a yearly basis?
Okay, so I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I'm sure with this, you are most likely making reference to public lands.
Yes.
So the truth is that, once a land is a public land, you cannot have a freehold interest. You most likely have, the state will most likely give you some form of rent agreement so that you continuously pay rent within that period. So there's a difference between leasehold and there's a difference between rent. So again, that is why I'm saying that once experts are involved, you know, first of all, the nature of land you are even purchasing to start with, or you are even acquiring an interest in to start with. If you look at the airport residential area, for instance, you realize that most people along the railway, they pay ground rent to the railway authority because it's state land.
Okay.
And because we are not effectively using the rail lines, I mean, the state has decided to give that property out to some people. So you are not going to have a freehold interest in that land. You are not going to have a leasehold interest in that land. You are most likely just going to be paying rent to stay on the property. Okay. But the property ultimately belongs to the state.
All right. We have a caller on the line. I believe it's Daniel on the line. Daniel, if you're there, you can throw in your question.
Okay. My question is if an institution, let's say you work in a company, and then the company buy land, and then you pay through the company. Right now, is that land secure? If it comes that you are going to build, and let's say someone comes and say, no, this land doesn't belong to you, can the company be of help to defend? And if not, where can I go?
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. Well, Emmanuel, if you're still with us, if you can hear me, because I can see you, did you hear the question, and can you take up the answer for that?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
But I wanted to touch on the last question.
Yes, please
before
do.
I answer this one.
Yes.
About how you can convince somebody. Now, what I advise my clients to do is that any lawyer who does the due diligence process for you, ensure that that lawyer puts it in writing. She came to advice that this land is suitable and must be purchased. Because if the lawyer gave you wrong advice, you have recourse to claim something from the lawyer. I hope you follow me.
I get you. Yes, I do.
Yes. So let it be in writing, because a court of law is evidence-based. So let the lawyer put it in writing. Now, to answer his question, I believe what he's asking is if he purchased land through a developer and he loses the land, can the developer repossess the land, or I believe that's the question, or can the developer assist him to mitigate his losses? Now, the point that my learned friend made is very germane here. You see, he said something. He said that you must do the due diligence in order to be seen as a bona fide person for value without notice. What that means is that you bought in good faith, which means that you didn't have notice of anybody's interest before you bought it. You paid valuable considerations, you paid money for it, and that you didn't have notice. Yes. So essentially, if you go to a developer, you cannot be said to have acted in good faith, because you see, the law also recognizes that it's only lawyers who can prepare a conveyance. The law also recognizes the kind of searches that you must do in order to be able to, in order to ascertain or to say that you have gone through the proper procedure. So if your developer is not a lawyer and the developer has not gone through the processes that we are talking about, then unfortunately you may have done the wrong thing. And the rule is that caveat emptor, buyer beware. So unfortunately, if you didn't go through the right process and you lose the land, what you can do is you can claim something from the developer, damages from the developer.
All right. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. With the previous caller's question, I'll come back to you so you touch on it. But there's another caller on the line. So you hold your thought on that one, and let's see if we can even answer the two questions together. Well, I believe that I have Prince from Ofankor Barrier. I'm sorry to have held you on the line for so long. We had a contributor on Zoom. So Prince, if you have a question, you can throw it in.
Yeah, please. I just good afternoon. So you and your panelists, please.
Yes, good
afternoon. I want to know how you can acquire some of the knowledge he's sharing with us. Do they have schools in Ghana here for that?
Can you please ask your question again?
I want to know how to acquire some of the knowledge he shared with us this afternoon. Do they have schools in Ghana here for that?
Okay, Prince, thank you very much. I'm sure you want to answer him a bit first before you go to the previous question. Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm a lawyer, so I'm a trained lawyer and licensed to practice law in Ghana. So in order for you to acquire this knowledge, you'd have to go through the training of becoming a lawyer to get that knowledge. All right. Then in respect of the earlier question about purchasing land from a company or a developer. So like my colleague rightly said, so once you do this purchase, again, it also depends at what point the purchase has gone. Sometimes you realize that the developers buy the property and hold it. Then later on, you would also have to purchase from them. Sometimes the purchase is not outright, it's by installments. So if you are at the stage where you have not fully purchased the property from the developer and having acquired interest, then it becomes an issue. But then again, you have money with the developer, so you can still go after the developer for your money. But then when you acquire interest after fully paying for the property, now the property is yours. You are the owner of the property. That is, if you have gone through the right processes. You are the owner of the property, so anybody that comes, you should be able to defend your rights, even if it means instituting actions in court. But if title hasn't transferred, then we lawyers will say that at that point, you don't even have capacity to institute an action. That is why, again, it's important that even if you are using a developer, most of these developers are not lawyers. So even if you are using it, they have local knowledge, especially on the neighborhood and then what pertains to that area and so on and so forth. But it's only legal practitioners that actually understand the entire process and what you need to do to the point of perfecting your title in the property.
Okay. Well, Emmanuel, I was going to come back to you for your final words, but I've just been giving the signal that we've run out of time here. But it's been great really having you join us all the way from where you are, and we've really enjoyed your contributions as well. We'll try as much as possible to get you back again on another occasion for us to do some more talk on this. The law is extensive, and we've just looked at the tip of the iceberg. But thank you very much, Emmanuel, for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
All right, Divine, thank you so much. And it's been great really having you here. You've really opened our eyes to a lot of things. I'll be coming to you personally for to hold my hand, to guide me through some of these murky waters. But it's been an eye-opener for us this afternoon. Well, I hope that you've also enjoyed yourselves. And hopefully, we might be doing a part 2 and possibly a part 3 of this discussion for you to really bring out the questions, as many questions as possible, and also to contribute to this conversation. Thank you so much for watching the Homeowner Show, which has been brought to you by the First National Bank Ghana and ably supported by CBC Properties. Until next Sunday, when we meet again for another edition, have a wonderful week. Bye for now.